You feel it creeping in, that knot in your stomach when you're about to try something new. The voice in your head whispers, "You're not qualified," or "You'll never be as good as the experts." This fear stops many people from starting anything worthwhile. The truth? You don't need to be the best to make meaningful progress. Amateurs routinely outperform professionals who are simply going through the motions. What makes the difference isn't talent, it's attitude and approach. Consider Michael Jordan, who was cut from his high school varsity basketball team. He wasn't naturally the greatest. What separated him was his practice ethic and psychological framework. He famously said, "I've failed over and over again, and that's why I succeed." The fear of looking foolish paralyzes us. Research from Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck shows that people with a fixed mindset believe abilities are innate and unchangeable. This makes them avoid challenges where they might fail. Those with a growth mindset see abilities as malleable through effort. They embrace challenges as learning opportunities. When you enter a new field, you bring fresh perspectives the experts might miss. You question assumptions. You make connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. The beginner's mind can be your superpower. Take the story of Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. With no background in fashion or business, she created a billion-dollar company. Her lack of industry knowledge became her advantage. She said, "What you don't know can be your greatest asset if you let it." The key is treating your amateur status as an opportunity rather than a limitation. First, embrace your cluelessness. When we admit we don't know everything, we open ourselves to learning. Experts often fall into the trap of thinking they know it all. This closes them off from new information that contradicts their established views. Author Ryan Holiday points out in Ego is the Enemy that the moment you think you know everything is when you stop growing. The confident amateur knows they have gaps but trusts their ability to fill them. The second secret is focused practice. Not just any practice, deliberate practice. Psychologist Anders Ericsson, whose research inspired the famous 10,000 hours rule, found that improvement comes not from mindless repetition but from pushing just beyond your current abilities with immediate feedback. You don't need 10,000 hours to become good enough. You need smart, deliberate practice focused on the parts that matter most. This concept of the minimum effective dose means you can achieve 80% of the results with 20% of the effort if you focus on the right things. Third, steal like an artist. Austin Kleon's book by this name teaches us that nothing is original. All creative work builds on what came before. Study the masters in your field. Analyze what works. Then combine these elements in your unique way. Fourth, show your work early and often. Amateurs wait until things are perfect. High performers understand that feedback accelerates learning. Share your efforts, even when they're rough. The embarrassment you feel pushing send is the price of improvement. Fifth, find joy in the process. Professionals who lose their love for the craft often underperform passionate amateurs. When you genuinely love what you're doing, persistence comes naturally. Those extra hours others see as hard work feel like play to you. The Japanese concept of shokunin, artisans who dedicate their lives to mastering their craft, teaches us that excellence comes from finding meaning in the work itself, not just the outcome. Sixth, be comfortable with discomfort. Growth happens at the edge of your abilities. That uncomfortable feeling when you're struggling? It means your brain is forming new connections. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Remember, everyone starts somewhere. Maya Angelou doubted her writing abilities well into her career. Mozart's early compositions were ordinary. What set them apart was their willingness to continue despite self-doubt. Your brain tells you stories about your limitations. These stories aren't facts, they're interpretations based on past experiences and fears. The stories you tell yourself determine what you attempt and achieve. Reframe the narrative. Instead of, "I'm not a natural," try, "I'm still learning," rather than, "I'll never be as good as them." Say, "I bring a different perspective." The concept of imposter syndrome affects even the most accomplished individuals. Research shows that 70% of people experience these feelings of fraudulence at some point. The difference is that high performers act despite these feelings. What matters isn't feeling ready, it's taking action anyway. Author Stephen Pressfield calls this turning pro in his book, The War of Art. The amateur waits for inspiration or perfect conditions. The professional shows up daily, regardless of how they feel. Your brain wants comfort and certainty. Evolution designed us to conserve energy and avoid risks. This served our ancestors well when survival was paramount. Today, these same instincts hold us back from growth. When you feel resistance toward difficult tasks, recognize this as your ancient brain trying to protect you from potential failure. Thank it for its concern, then move forward anyway. Remember that excellence isn't perfection, it's consistent improvement. Each small step compounds over time. Author James Clear explains in Atomic Habits that improving just 1% daily leads to remarkable results through compounding growth. You don't need to be a pro to create value. The world needs your unique contribution, especially when it comes from authentic effort rather than polished expertise. The person who shows up consistently, learns deliberately, and shares generously will eventually outperform the naturally talented who rely solely on their gifts. Start before you feel ready. Learn as you go. Find joy in the journey. The rest will follow.